Welcome to Le Mans, the world's greatest endurance race, France's round-the-clock classic, which in its 66th running had attracted one of the best entries for very many years. Bernd Schneider there, the FIA GT champion, flags of all nations, and a lineup. Just look at those rear wings and the photographers. The green flag waves and the 47 cars roll off for their first reconnaissance lap. Le Mans, of course, one of the greatest racing circuits in the world, an enormous challenge, very, very fast. And much of it carved out on the public roads in western France. Slowly on the warm-up lap. Everything timed for the 2 o'clock start. This race actually run a week earlier than normal to fit in with the World Cup, and also an earlier start than is usual. Although everyone tries to be calm at the start, it always turns out to be a bit of a Grand Prix. The pace car, a brand new Bentley. In fact, a Bentley Arnage, named after one of the famous corners here. And at the stroke of 2 o'clock, the lights went green, and a tremendous charge to the chicane. Bernd Schneider from pole position against Martin Brundle in the Toyota. The rest of the field running through and up to the first chicane by the Dunlop Bridge. And there's a lock-up from Brundle, but it's Schneider, the German, who gets in front. Then there's a BMW making an absolutely stupendous start. Pierluigi Martini at the wheel. That wasn't expected. Down through the S's and heading towards Tetra Rouge. Schneider leads in the Mercedes-Benz with its new V8 engine, a car specially constructed for Le Mans. Brundle pushing hard. There's always publicity to be gained from leading the first lap. Indeed, suddenly Brundle has sneaked past the Mercedes-Benz with its yellow mirrors. Martin Brundle, the enormously experienced Grand Prix driver. Last year, of course, he drove here for Nissan. The team, a brand new team from Team Toyota Europe, who normally run rally cars, have constructed these 3 magnificent GT cars. Second Mercedes-Benz. And then Porsche. Porsche taking it easy at the start. You can never forget them. Coming up towards the end of the first lap, and the accolade of leading lap number 1 goes to Martin Brundle from Schneider. Then it's Martini, and then behind him the rest of the Toyotas, Porsches, Mercedes-Benz, and then Nissan a little further back as we look from behind of the Sospiri, Bouillon and Polycan Ferrari. This is a French-tuned machine, pulls out of the slipstream of that Nissan. Nice to see a Courage up well. Courage cars actually built inside the race circuit. They have their facility here at Le Mans. There are a number of high-tech buildings which have grown up around the circuit. Now, one of the first pit stops, Pierluigi Martini brings the BMW in with its 6-litre V12 engine. Same engine, incidentally, which has been successful with the McLarens in the past. In fact, both BMWs come in for an early pit stop. So too does the car which won it for the past 2 years. The Jost Porsche now under the wing of the factory Porsche team. Kelly Alboreto at the wheel of this. And the car which led early on, making its pit stop, Martin Brundle, he decides to stay at the wheel. The more regulations for safety reasons mean that you have to put in all the fuel before you change the tyres. And the 28 car pulls away. Martin Brundle sharing that with 2 French drivers, very experienced, Emmanuel Collard and Eric Ellery. The German challenge is also in the pits for the first of many scheduled pit stops. The 35 Mercedes, quick car of Schneider Ludwig and the Australian Mark Webber. The 25 Porsche leaves black lines and exits the pits. But up front, the pace was being set by Martin Brundle in that Toyota GT1. Problems out on the track. In comes the Courage. Obviously the result of accident damage there. The number 24 car of Terada, Frion and Trevenan actually at the wheel there. And the car goes straight into its garage. A lot of repairs will be required. This is what happened. Well, a bit of a misunderstanding there. Pierluigi Martini lapping the blue car, really charging in the BMW, and then that's what finally did the damage. But certainly the BMW will have suffered from that as well. Just look at this, the battle up front. Bernd Schneider pushing hard. Toyota versus Mercedes-Benz. Japan versus Germany. The end of the first hour, it was Toyota, then Mercedes-Benz, then the best of the Porsches, and then the third of the Toyotas. But meanwhile, there was consternation in the BMW pit. Already a problem with the front suspension, particularly the wheel bearings. Toyota's constantly split flame. You can hear the turbocharger chirping and some blue smoke. And meanwhile, an even bigger problem for Mercedes-Benz. Bernd Schneider, just at the end of the pits, grinds to a halt. Manages to pull the car off actually into the pit lane entrance. No one knows at first what the problem is. The yellow flags wave as the Schneider Mercedes-Benz in only the second hour is manoeuvred out of the way, and it looks terminal. It looks like a problem with the engine. Obvious concern in the garage, and Bernd Schneider climbs out. This enormously successful German driver, former GT champion. Meanwhile, Oliver Griard has his visor wiped there in the pits, in the Courage, which has got 3 generations of drivers in it. Meanwhile, a major problem for the number 70 Franz Conrad, Porsche in GT2, a wheel hanging off that, and he'll limp it back to the pits. The other Conrad car, the number 73 machine, was actually the very first retirement of the race after just 19 minutes with a massive oil leak. Another pit stop for Toyota. The pressure already coming off Toyota with the problem with the Mercedes-Benz of Schneider. One of the early surprises of the race was the speed of the prototype BMWs, very new cars, designed in association with Williams Grand Prix Engineering, and very much leading edge. Meanwhile, a new set of Michelins go onto the Toyota here, and the 28 car pulls out now with Emanuele Collard at the wheel. Martin Brundle, after 2 very quick stints, in the lead of the race, this car. And another Porsche in trouble. This time it's just the tyre which has come off. The Kraus Racing Porsche, the multicoloured machine. 61 car driven by Bernhard Müller, Michel Trunk and Ernst Palmberger. Meanwhile, the 27 Toyota stops the Japanese-driven car, Ukio Katayama at the wheel, another of the former Grand Prix aces taking part in this tremendous endurance race. And Porsche, were they just biding their time, or were they short on speed? The veteran Frenchman, Bob Wallet, driving that car. Here's the 36, the Gounon Bouchot and Ricardo Zonta Mercedes-Benz. And concern already in the Stuttgart pit that this car will fail with the same problem as the Schneider machine. That already apparently down to an oil pump which had broken, and that pump also working some of the power-assisted steering, so a dual-purpose pump which had let the team down, but they will be back. Mercedes-Benz certainly have a car which has enormous potential. Into the pits, you can see the little clock showing how long the pit stop actually takes. A driver change going on just out of the car, but meanwhile, no chink in the armour of the Porsches, running neck and neck.